Oh, everyone used to talk about the good old days back in the day. Every weekend there was a dance or there was some kind of event happening in your small town, and that just doesn't happen anymore. Well, that's not true.
Here we go. Chris, welcome to the Meetup spot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm always excited to do these kinds of podcasts and chats and interviews with folks.
Hmm, that's nice. And I guess it's a rating on the way.
Yeah, it is. It's a light rain here. I just was talking to the guys that are helping me farm at home. They just got rained out and they're going to get some much needed rest. They've been going pretty hard the last 2 weeks.
Hmm. Anyways, stay safe on the road, Chris. I guess with the rain, it might be slippery on the road. I don't know. Just yeah, that's I'm just assuming.
Yeah. No, it's all good right now.
All right, here we go. All right, Chris, tell me about yourself and your growing up story.
Oh, tell you about myself. Well, I I'm a young farmer. I still think I'm pretty young. I'm only 41 from the St. Front area, so that's kind of smack dab in the middle of Rose Valley and Nacum, Saskatchewan. I went to school in Nacum. I I always found myself a little bit of an outcast. I came from Calgary. I was in Calgary from kindergarten to grade 5, and when we moved to the small town, I was always pegged as a city kid, so I always felt like I had something to prove out on the farm. And you know, really loved having both dynamics growing up, of having grown up in a city and then growing up rurally. It's given me such a different lens to view the world through, where I think it helps me relate to a lot of people. And that has kind of been proven over and over again through the things I've done in my life, be it farming, the public speaking in the mental health realm, the hockey coach, it the issues I had with addictions, getting clean and sober. It's really helped me relate to a lot of people.
Yes, that's nice. I'm so glad that you're helping people with yeah. I'm so glad you're helping people with what you have right now.
Yeah, thanks. It it's kind of come natural to me, and I think like we can help people from kind of that savior aspect where it kind of feels icky and gross, or you can do it because from a place that's different, and everyone has their own motivations. I've always found mine has come from just I seen what it was like when I was a young kid growing in a community like St. Front, where neighbors helped each other because that's just what you had to do to survive. You leaned on your community and it made everyone else stronger. And I remember my grandpa saying things like, if you're not trying to make the place you live better every day, what kind of place will you be living in? And for me now, I continue to hold those values quite strong. It's like if you're not trying to make the place you live, what is it going to be? And I truly believe if we were to lean on our community, lean on our neighbors, lean on those friendships more, better place.
Hmm, nice, nice. And as a city kid, how did you adjust to rural life?
Oh, that was hard. That was really
Oh,
hard. Started off
oh,
by getting
okay.
in a few fist fights with some of the people who ended up being some of my closest friends. There was definitely an adjustment period, and it was learning what learning some of the different things that my rural friends were into compared to the things I used to do with my friends in the city. Like my friends in the city, we never went quadding and hunting and fishing. And so it was having to pick up those kinds of skills and learning how to be a good friend in that realm, instead of wandering around back alleys of Calgary and going and uh, just as a young kid in Calgary, you played on the park. You went to the local 7-Eleven, and they used to have the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat video machines there, and you'd plunk your allowance into that thing, and you'd play Mortal Kombat with your friends. And it was a lot different, a lot more outdoors and active type things in rural Saskatchewan, which that was a help, that transition, because I played a lot of baseball in Calgary, and so I could uh, I could fit in the sports world, and that helped with the transition.
Mm. Uh, yeah, love those memories. All right. Okay, okay, Chris, why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Very good question. You know, I think throughout my life that it changes. Like 95% of the reason I do anything right now is because of my kids. And I wouldn't say that's the only reason, but that's the main drive. There still is that drive to make my community a better place. I mean, I spoke about that earlier. But the big reason right now has been it's for my children. I can look back on a couple years ago, like just after the Broncos crash. The main reason I did anything then was to work on myself, to work through that level of grief and that level of pain, which coming out of that then turned into a drive to help others, but it came from an unhealthy place. It came from a place of, if I help someone, maybe someone will save me. And all those drives kind of are constantly changing. And right now, the main drive is I do things to role model for my kids the kind of qualities and the kind of values that I think are important and will help them have grounded and centered and balanced lives.
That's nice. And and since 2024, you've been a local MLA. It's a new thing for you, I believe. What helped you get started in politics?
So I was actually interested in politics for quite a long time. I joined the Melfort Executive
Hmm.
back in, oh, I want to say 2011, 2012, something like that. And I was the vice president of the board for quite a few years there. And after the passing of our MLA, Kevin Phillips, actually before that, I helped my aunt run in a nomination when June Drowdy retired. And so I was still living in the Melfort constituency. I was living in Spalding, and June Drowdy had retired. So I helped my aunt run in the nomination there. And unfortunately, she lost. And in between that time, I moved back to my farm and had to leave the Melfort constituency board. And then Kevin Phillips unfortunately passed away. And I helped my aunt run in that nomination, which she ended up losing to Todd Gowdy. And so I had been heavily involved with the party and with the nomination process for close to a decade. And shortly after that, the Humboldt bus crash happened, and politics was just pushed aside because it wasn't important to me at that time. Taking care of myself was the most important thing. And by chance, I ran into June Drowdy at a wedding in about 2023, and she told me she really liked what I was doing and that I should think of running. And we had a few conversations, and I thought, you know what? Nah, it's not for me. Not something I want to do right now. I love my public speaking. And then in the spring of 2024, she called again and said, Chris, where are your nomination papers? And I said, nomination papers for what, June? And she said, well, Hugh just quit. He's not the MLA anymore. And I said, what? I talked to him in April. He said he was running 4 more years. She goes, no, and you only have a couple weeks to get your papers in. Well, I had to have 4 years worth of conversations with my family in about 4 days and decide, is this actually something we really want? Because like I said, my public speaking career was growing. I had an agent. I was charging 5 figures per talk. Things were moving along quite quickly. And all that came to a screeching halt because we decided, you know what, there is another opportunity to serve. There's another opportunity to try and make the place that I live better. And that internal drive for wanting to better where I come from kind of was reignited.
That is an interesting story. June Drowdy, one of the OGs who founded the Saskatchewan Party, telling you to run. I guess you saw something in you.
Yeah, it's not bad when your first political mentor is the mother of the SAS party. It's a
Mm.
pretty good person to learn from.
Ah. Mm, mm. And what was going through your mind when you first got elected?
You know, when I first got elected, I had an idea of what I thought politics was, and I thought I had an idea of how I would be an MLA, and I'm going to go to. I'm a big, I mean, I've said it multiple times. I'm a big champion of local stuff. So I was going to go to the senior hockey games and go to the slow pitch tournaments, and that would be most of my time, and it would make everyone happy. Well, you know what? Everything I thought politics was, it was not that. And
Oh,
in some hard ways, and also in some good ways. It it had to stretch my view of what this job could be. And I really noticed like one of the very first things I did to help someone was never anything I I thought it would be. Like I helped a local business with a highways issue, and I did not think that that would be the most important thing to one of my constituents. And I really found that a lot of the glitz and glamour I thought that may come along with being an MLA, like solving these really large issues, that's not the day to day. A lot of times in your mind, it may be a smaller issue, but it is the most important thing to your constituent. And helping them with what may seem like something that isn't that big of an issue, it actually is to the constituent. And so in a way, I still am doing what I thought politics was, and that was solving large issues. It's just large issues to the constituents of Kelvington Wadena.
that's really nice. And how did the skills in your past experience translate into the work you do in politics today?
Well, the public speaking one's been pretty easy. That translates over pretty pretty well. I really think that the work I've done in the coaching space also helped prepare me for dealing with people when they're upset. I mean, when you coach a team of 20 young men, 20 young boys, there's always someone who is wants to talk to you, someone with a problem, someone who's upset, you're trying to help them solve their issue. Sometimes you've got an angry board member, you've got an upset parent that you cut their kid or you traded their kid. And so the relationship aspect from coaching has been extremely beneficial just for working with my constituents, knowing that, you know what, we can work through difficult issues. You can be upset with me, but that doesn't mean that I don't care. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to try and solve this to the best of our ability. And, you know, the last skill set I think that has helped me actually more than anything probably has been the work I've done with addicts and with people at the end of life. When you're dealing with some of the most difficult issues people will face, I can meet those in a calmer way because I've dealt with people at their absolute worst. I've worked with people at their absolute worst, and I've found that that doesn't it doesn't make me rattled. It doesn't make me anxious. I kind of thrive in that environment. So when someone calls me and they're extremely upset about something, I tend to stay on a very level, cool playing field.
That's that's nice. Okay. Politics requires having thick skin, but you're still a human. What is your mental framework for processing harsh criticism without letting it change who you are at your core?
So I think for this, I have a very different experience than almost every other politician in the province when it comes to your background. When I've public spoke for close to a decade, and a lot of my public speaking was on telling my story, what it was like to be an addict, what it was like to almost lose my daughter, what it was like to come through the bus crash and identify all of my players after they had passed. And, you know, a lot of those are the hardest experiences I've had in my life. I've talked about all of the things, the difficult things I did through addiction. And so it's almost like I was able to enter with a clean slate. When someone would say something, well, didn't you used to um uh didn't you used to be a wild man when you were drinking? Didn't you used to crash vehicles and scream and fight and all those things? And I could say, yes, I've been talking about that for years. And I haven't been saying I did those things because I was an alcoholic. I could say I've pinpointed those points in my childhood where I created a belief, a coping mechanism that I continued to use into adulthood, that while under active addiction, that coping mechanism, I made choices that were absolutely horrid, but I've learned from that. I've grown from that. And I can now see when that coping mechanism gets charged up inside of me and it wants to come alive and it wants to react now. And I can create space for that. And it allows me to be a better person today and a better politician. And so now I really think that a lot of the issues that other politicians may face when it comes to their background, it doesn't bother me. And when things do come up in the media and social media, when I'm criticized about healthcare, about things in the constituency, about my work, I can do one of two things. I can take it personally, which is just a mind process of my own, or I can not take it personally, reach out to the person and see what is most important to them in that moment and see if we can find a resolution.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Um, okay. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about your job, and how are you working to change that narrative?
Well, I think the biggest misconception people have is that government can just do what they want. They can change everything instantly because they're government. And that's just not quite the case. The certain things in government take time. There are processes that need to be followed. And as much as at times people wish things could just happen and change instantly, it's just not the case. And I think that just a level of public awareness around that needs to happen. And that's what kind of what we're doing right now. And I also do that when I'm out at the curling rinks and the hockey rinks and the ball diamonds talking to people when I'm home in my constituency when they say, well, why can't we solve this issue? I can explain it just how I'm explaining that here.
Nice. Um, nice. So Chris, what do you know about your writing?
Can you say that again?
Oh, what do you know about your writing?
What do I know about my riding? Well, I know that Kelvington Wadena is one of the best places to live in Saskatchewan. I mean, I one of the things that I've done since I was elected, I started posting about 3 weeks in every Thursday or Friday. I would post certain events happening in the constituency so people knew that there was so much more happening than we thought. Oh, everyone used to talk about the good old days back in the day. Every weekend there was a dance or there was some kind of event happening in your small town, and that just doesn't happen anymore. Well, that's not true. I have been able every weekend when I post that events calendar, I'll post five, 6 events. There'll be 10 other events in the comments. And so there hasn't been a weekend where there isn't something happening in Kelvington Wadena. I also know that in Kelvington Wadena that we do have that community feel like I talked about earlier, where people want to help each other, where people rely on each other to make their communities a better place. That hasn't gone away. That's strong and thriving in all our communities, small and large.
That's awesome. So in your writings in Kelvin Medina, was is there are there dances or what kind of events did you
Oh,
promote?
I mean, the events are almost limitless. Like one of my
Oh,
kids' favorite things we do in the spring and through the winter is the trade shows, the trade fairs.
mm,
They've got a few of their favorite people they love to see at those, like Diane's Donuts, Rose and Pine. Um, we love a lot of the homemade foods that you can find at these events. And some of the other key events you'll see through the summers is the ball tournaments that have the cabaret dances at night. In the winter, the senior hockey games. Senior hockey is such a live, vibrant community event. The curling bonspiels. I mean, there's small towns like St. Front and Foston who have under 50 people in them, and they still have curling rinks just thriving with kids spiels with up to 50 kids at these events. I mean, that's that's not something that's going away anytime soon when you see the level of community involvement like that. And I think of the just the activities that other towns put on just for children. Like we were in Lanigan this spring for a spring event. They had blow up castles and bouncy castles and reptiles and all different little events for children. That kind of stuff is always happening. And that's good to know that you don't have to travel far from home. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And if you are going to spend money, it's going to stay in your community and it's going to help make local businesses thrive.
it, it must be heaven on it must be heaven on earth for you down for you there.
Oh, it is. It is. I really, when you look out for me, there's not a lot else that a guy could ask for. I mean, I'd love a few more doctors in a few of our small towns. I'd like a couple of highways paved, that kind of stuff. But I mean, when you really break it down, like there's almost no better place to raise a family. It's almost no better place to retire. You look at all the golf courses and the lakes that we have and the level of community engagement that we have. There's there's friends, there's family, there's community everywhere you look.
That's awesome. Uh, okay. What are your projects for your community?
In a like political sense.
Generally, is it like fixing a playgrounds or like
Oh,
fixing roads or anything like that?
Yeah, well, actually, the Rose Valley School was able to access the government's school playground grant, and they've got a brand new playground at their school. I think of the Leroy Daycare that just opened, a brand new facility. I mean, an amazing facility. I know we have a few other daycares that are popping up throughout our constituency, and those are going to be really important with the immense job creation that's happening in Kelvington Wadena with the BHP mine that's coming online now. I mean, the single largest investment in Saskatchewan's history, right here in the Kelvington Wadena constituency. I mean, the 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 successes are endless here.
That's nice. And I guess you brought them there.
Say
You
that again.
And I guess that with your political power, with bills and all that, I think that's the reason you brought them there or something.
Oh,
I guess.
I'd love to take credit for all of the things that have happened here already, but I have to give credit where credit's due. That comes
Hmm.
to the previous MLAs who were here before me, and the government and the work they did before my time. Large projects like this weren't were started and were funded well before me. I think in the near future you'll start to see some of the things coming to place that I've been able to be a part of. I can't speak on too many of those yet, but it I'll tip my hat to the previous MLAs and the cabinet ministers for the Sask Party government who got these projects underway and completed.
It's nice. Okay. When dealing with deep disagreement, what's your strategy for finding common ground? And can you share a time that actually worked?
Yeah, I think when dealing with disagreement, I take a very different lens than most people. I I try to look through it through the eyes of internal tension in your body. And I find whenever we try to assert a rightness or wrongness over anything, that it creates tension. So when I'm talking to someone, I know that if they are trying to tell me the way things should be or the way they want things to be, that they're coming from a place of tension, of stress. And the very first thing I want to do is to try to meet them on a level playing ground where we can relax a little. We can become grounded and centered. We can view this from a place that is non-combative. So the first thing I try to do is just relate to them, to understand their situation as well as I can. And then if I have experienced something myself that is similar, I'll share my own experience. And then it kind of shows the humanness and the empathy side that I try to meet all issues with, and then we can deal with that issue from a much different place. And I could give dozens of examples from simple things like when somebody sends an email and I respond that way, them instantly saying, "Wow, I really appreciate how prompt you're replying and how much you care." To I can't share confidential casework, but the the interactions I've had when, for an example, this spring, when there was immense flooding in the Quill Lakes and the Ponus Lake area, which are all in my constituency, and I would get calls from farmers who were upset about their land that was flooded. And I could relate to them directly by just saying, yeah, I totally understand. I have 500 acres right now myself that I don't know when I will get that seeded. But that being said, how can we find a way to solve this for you? What information might you have that I don't, that I need to know that's pertinent? How would you like to see this resolved? And everyone then by the end, they're like, yeah, Chris, we forgot. You farm too, you get it. Well, let's try and figure this out together.
That's great. That's great. Right now, it's tough for people these days to find jobs. If they want to go the same path as you, what are the things they can do right now to practice?
For me, I love this subject, and I I mean, I look at myself. I barely got through high school. I didn't like high school when I was there. I started to enjoy education more in my early 30s. But the one thing I did notice that I liked through my teens and my early 20s was learning different skills and up leveling those skills. No matter what it was, this is why I was a good hockey coach. Well, the jury's out on if I was a good hockey coach or not, but this is why I thought I was a good hockey coach, is because I noticed the skills that I was good at and I harnessed them. I practiced them. I looked at every single way I could make myself better at those certain skills, be it practice planning, be it analytics, be it on. I loved neutral zone transition for the hockey folks out there. You'll understand this. I studied neutral zone transitions inside and out. I thought it was the only way to create good speed in a hockey game than to counter attack on teams. And so I wanted to understand that more than anybody. Now, when I got into politics as a private member, the very one of the very first roles I had was I was the deputy speaker. So I was third in line to be the speaker. So I thought I better learn these rules inside and out. I want to know the rules better than the house leader. I want to know the rules better than the speaker. So when my opportunity comes, I am prepared. And I really think that kind of mindset translates to all work. If you're running a push broom, for example, if your mindset is on being the best push broom operator in the world, finding all those little ways to be like looking at it almost like a physics project. If I overlap only 10% here, that means that I will finish the job 3 minutes quicker every day. You start adding those 3 minutes up every single day. Oh my God, you're saving over 15 to 20 minutes a week. All of a sudden, in a month, you're saving over an hour of work. You're putting that extra hour into an area that can benefit you, can benefit the company, can benefit the community. It all starts to add up. And it's just those translatable skills and finding the way to just put yourself in that next step up the ladder than everyone else with those skills. That'll transfer through all workforces.
That is something, yeah, that is some good advice, sir.
Well, I just had a conversation Saturday with a youth parliamentarian group. They
Oh,
asked kind of the same question. They said it's so hard for youth to get jobs now. They said, what would you say when someone says we can't get experience? I said, you're looking at it from the wrong way. Like, what kind of experience, what kind of better teacher is there than the teacher of life? Like, your parents, I'm sure, have asked you to clean, to cook, to do multiple other things. I'm sure they have careers, or you have an uncle or a cousin or an aunt or somebody who is some type of career that was had an entry level position that you can say, hey, I'll just come help out. There's community events that you can go volunteer, and you can be the person that stacked the most chairs. You can be the person that worked the hardest, that's seen those areas that could improve, and you weren't afraid to speak up, and you just translated the simple skills you had and you up leveled them. And everyone can do that. Everyone can do that.
hmm, nice. And lastly, what does the work you do right now mean to you?
What does it mean to me? That's a good question. And that's an interesting question to be asking at the end of seating. I've spent the last couple weeks, doing some of my MLA and minister duties, but also trying to help the folks at home get done seating. So I've been running the night shift, spending a lot of time thinking about like current situation in the future. And the my MLA duties, what they mean to me now, it's kind of what they've meant from the beginning. I want to be someone that is relatable and that people can feel comfortable reaching out to. Like, I do not look at myself as if I'm a politician. I know my nickname at home is Critter because my cousin couldn't say Christopher when I was born. He said Crittifer. I'm still Critter. Like you can call and text Critter, and that's who's going to pick up the phone. The same old regular guy that plays rec hockey with you. I am no different now. And I want to continue to be seen like that in my constituency so that people feel comfortable that they can just reach out to me. And I'm not some fancy schmancy politician because I'm not that. And when it comes to my ministerial duties, those those mean a lot because those are the future for our province right now. We are on the precipice of a golden age when it comes to energy and resources in the province. And the better I do my job means that people will have better lives, better jobs, better careers, because there's going to be more opportunity in this province, more opportunity for high paying, high skilled, medium skilled jobs that will benefit people for years to come. So to me, I take that very seriously. So when I get extra time on the tractor, you can guarantee that my mind is always working and thinking, how could I tweak this? How could we adjust that to make things better for the people of Saskatchewan? How can we make that better for the energy industry? And that's kind of the focus I have right now.
That's nice. That's nice. Okay. Again, thank you for coming to the meetup spot, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was great.
I know. Any last thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I just want to say this to everyone out there. You don't have to look anywhere but Saskatchewan for a spot to start your career, start your life, raise a family, grow old, be happy, meet your goals, all the things you're looking for, all the wonderful things a person could want in their life can be found here. And the the way I've seen this province work since I've been here, it's always with that a little bit more, a little bit extra elbow grease. We lean on our neighbors, we lean on our community, we work hard, we put our nose to the grindstone and we get it done. And that's how it's going to keep us moving forward as well. I think that the concept of the grind in society has been vilified the last few years. And I would say this as someone who's worked in the mental health realm for a long time. You can be busy, you can have a lot to do and not feel impatient inside. You can be late to something and not feel impatient inside. You can also work really hard. You can grind it out and have that healthy stress while not having your mind work against you. And if we do that, this province will be unstoppable. Because, like I said earlier, we're on the precipice of a golden age in energy here. And Saskatchewan is going to be looked at as the superpower of Canada over the next generation.
Good mindset. And again, thank you for coming to the meetup spot, sir. Drive,
Thank,
drive safe, sir.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.